I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses because it would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse trying to break it every day. They had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hind quarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the dirty. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey. I'm your host, Wayne, joined as always by my partner in crime, the lovely and talented Miss Tiffany. How you doing, ma'am?
Good. How are you?
Fantabulous.
I love your little Fu Manchu.
Is that what that is? Or that's the handlebar mustache, right?
What is the Fu Manchu?
Fu Manchu.
I don't have facial hair.
Like that, right?
You're asking the wrong lady.
Oh, I don't know. Somebody chime in. That's more knowledgeable.
Hey, I am constantly putting my foot in my mouth here. So,
or is the Hitler? Is that the Fu Manchu? I don't know.
Because his was like this big.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody tell us what a Fu Manchu is. What have you been up to, ma'am?
Whole lot of nothing. Being hot.
You conceited as hell.
Oh my God. Not acting hot.
God, Mr. Tiffany's a lucky man, huh?
God, you know me. Get out.
It is hot as hell outside. What is going on with the temperature?
I don't know. It's ridiculous. And I represent the women in this field, okay? Because you got the men, I got the women. We're in our middle 40s. We like to eat tacos, and we suffer with temper regulation. And
temper regulation? Yes, you do.
Temper, that too. But I meant temperature. We can't regulate our tempers either.
Good Lord, you can't.
Yeah, because you know what happens. You know what happens when you're just at that prime of your life, and you can't really, and you don't want to make children anymore. You know what happens? Menopause comes in and sets your ass on fire.
Is that what
happens? That's what happens.
Yeah.
And then you just stand in front of the freezer and you're like, oh God, this is so good.
Well, Naomi says Hulk Hogan has a Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Risto said that they're thin. Oh, so they go this way then. Yours are this way. So the Fu Manchu's
cowboy looking. I'm so damn confused. We need to look. I need to just Google it and look at images.
Look at Hulk Hogan. Because I know what it is. I can see it in my head. I know what it is now. It's not what you got. And it certainly ain't Hitler.
Yeah. I'm so sorry that the show has gone this way, guys.
We're talking about menopause and mustaches. That's awful. It's not even an after hours or members only.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let's pay some bills.
Okay.
If you are new to the show, we are very, very glad to have you. Please do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. You are beautiful, you are loved, and you are wanted. So hang out with us. Hit that subscribe button, please.
And if you would like to be on with Wayne and myself, you can reach out to both of us, Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com or Tiffany at paranormalworldproductions.com. We would love to hear your encounter and be able to share it.
Speaking of paranormalworldproductions.com, that is our website. Head over there, check it out. You can do all kinds of stuff over there. Check out all the individual shows. There's like 6 or 7 of them now. Pick up some merch for each and every one of those shows. Paranormal Odyssey shirt would be cool to see on some of you folks. Sign up for the newsletter, the Bigfoot newsletter every week, done by our founder and creator, Mr. Brian King Sharp. But you can't do any of that unless you head over to paranormalworldproductions.com. There.
And if you have any questions for tonight's guest, please put them in all capital letters. We grab them up and highlight them. And at the end of the show, we do a rapid fire Q&A. And as long as you put them in all capital letters, I can grab them up.
Very good, very good. As Tiffany said, our guest is backstage. Seems like he has good internet, so we're not going to have to worry about that. Really interesting guy.
Yeah.
Got Tim Arnwine hanging out back there. He is the long-haired ghost hunter. He's going to come out and tell you all about the foundation that he started, some of the stuff that they have been into. We had Gina on from She Haunts, I guess a month or so ago, and one of the better episodes we've done in a long time. She's a really, really cool lady. Well, they got their start pretty much together. Well, Tim's been doing it longer, but they co-founded the group, the organization that they are both in. So yeah, he is backstage. Before we get him out, real quick, let me just mention the poll question. I want to get Tim's opinion on this. Are cemeteries the most scary place to investigate? Right now, overwhelmingly, 89% of you say no. So that leaves 11 that say yes. What do you think, Tiffany?
I don't know. I think the ambiance is what would make it creepy, but there's a lot of people that say that that's where people rest, so therefore there wouldn't be so many trailing spirits.
Right.
But I think just the tombstones and some of the statues would make it on the creepy side.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely appears creepy, but I've never really been freaked out at a cemetery. I've always felt like peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are at rest. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some creepy ass cemeteries out there.
I'm sure. And they're certainly not ones that I would want to go traipsing around in the middle of the night in the dark, talking to things that aren't there. So.
Right.
That would be creepy.
All right, real quick before we get Tim out, y'all consider signing up for our members only. It's $1.99 a month. Get all kind of access to extra stuff. We do members only shows. We have a members only Discord where we are pretty active in. Going to be doing movie nights and all that stuff. We all hang out over there and it's a good time. So if you don't mind and $1.99 wouldn't break you, we would love to have you join. As Mr. Alex says, every single episode, best $1.99 ever spent. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I agree with you.
Yes. It is the cheapest fun you'll ever find, buddy.
199 pennies. What else you gonna do with 199 pennies? Throw at people?
I can't even buy a drink for $1.99.
No, you can't.
A bottle of water. You can't even buy a bottle of water for $1.99.
Water.
Water. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
All right, let's get to Tim.
Let's do it.
Tim, what's up, buddy?
Hey guys, how we doing?
Good.
Good.
Doing-
Thanks for having me.
Very, very well. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and hang out with us on this Tuesday evening.
Cool. Yeah, it is. That's a Raleigh Fingers.
Raleigh Fingers.
It's an old
Yeah, he
picture,
was a pitcher. Yeah.
picture for the A's.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah, he was known for that.
for clearing that up. Yeah, Tim, you and I were talking about the Vols before we came on. You got family from up around the Knoxville area. I want to give a shout out to my Vols baseball team. Just won the national championship.
They were always hot.
Oh yeah, they won the College World Series, first one ever. They've been the best baseball team in the country for the last 4 years, but they have been knocked out in the World Series. But this year they got it done. So congratulations to my Vols.
They did great, and because down here we got the UM, and they were like the dynasty for years.
I remember I think it was 1999. Tennessee got knocked out by Miami, and that's when we were picked to win it all. And I said, yeah, they have a really good baseball program. But Tennessee has a pitcher that has one of these, so I did it in honor of him. So
that's good. They did great.
Yeah. Anyway, Tim, you are a ghost hunter. Tell us about the organization and how you got your start and what got you interested.
Well, I'm a retired paramedic, so I never had that thing like grandma standing at my bed or nothing like that. It was just after, paramedic in Miami, we saw a lot of death over the years. I worked on the streets and in an ER. So I figured one day, like almost 25 years ago, I said, there's got to be something more than just putting people in the ground. And I found that once you kind of open yourself up to it, I started hearing noises when I was walking down hallways. I heard my name a few times, got my hair tugged on a few times. So it kind of went from, I wonder, there's got to be more to it, to now, what do they want? What do they want to tell us? And I just started investigating like that. And, when I started, there was, we had a compass, baby powder, nothing like what we got today. It was very primitive. And then I started teams. I built teams. I've been on teams. I give lectures on it now, on ghost hunting. And the team now I'm with is, I'm real proud of them, is Afterlife All-Stars with Gina. She haunts. And the other ladies. I've met all these ladies through events that I've been doing. And they always seem to be excited about ghost hunting and looking for answers. Yeah, there they are. They're sweet. They're there to look for answers and try to find answers for the client. Or more importantly, they're there to introduce the field to people when we do our investigations, our public investigations. Introduce the field in an honest manner, and not try to make things up. Just let people know what it's about and get to know the tools. So they're a special group. They really are.
Now, I just heard you say, Tim, that they try to do things for the clients. Now, do people call y'all when they believe they're having a problem with spirits and y'all come and check, or what do y'all do?
Yeah, we'll get a call. We do, residents, businesses. People will call and say they think they hear stuff or they got a feeling and things. So what we do is it'll be like me and Gina or someone else. We'll do a preliminary. We'll go there, you get a feel for the place, get to know the client, do some baseline readings, maybe some EVPs, and just see if it's really paranormal or if we can find out what else it could be. Because I've done places where they hear scratching at night. And down here in South Florida, we don't have attics per se. We have crawl spaces. I lift up to look in there, and I flash the light around, and I saw 4 eyes. And I told the lady, I go, honey, you got raccoons. No ghosts. She's okay. So, and we've had it where we've caught the electromagnetic field reader will pick up a crazy reading on an outlet. So basically, they just got an electrical leak. And if you get a high EMF reading and you're like living with it, it'll play with your head. It'll make you like you're dizzy, nauseous, being touched, things like that. So we've had a lot of times where I just said, call the electrician out, see what he says, and after that, if we need to come back, we'll come back. So yeah, we'll do anything. People call us for, like I said, houses, businesses. I've done a lot of schools on the sly. We've done hotels, museums, things like that.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned you're in South Florida, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, South Florida. We're based out of, I guess, Pembroke Pines, but also like West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, areas like that. But we go all over the place. So we're there to find some answers.
Why is it that Florida seems to just be so damn creepy?
It's weird because I get called by, I've gotten called by producers sometimes because I've been doing this so long. And when I tell them South Florida, they're always shocked how active it is. I go, well, down here we had Native American wars, Civil War, pirates. We've had our own drug lords for years.
Yeah.
South Florida was known for mafia because Al Capone has a lot of history down here. There's a hotel in Coral Gables where a mobster was killed, and that room's supposed to be active. So we have so much activity. It's just been buried here for years, and people are always shocked that why South Florida? I guess everybody thinks if you're not up northeast, then there's no activity, and that's always like Tennessee and Virginia have Civil War history. So we've even had Civil War history down here. So it's just, I always tell people, I go, it's not the house, because everybody thinks South Florida is so newly built, but it's the property usually. It's not the place. Sometimes it's the property, not the building sitting on it or the people in the location. It's the property.
Yeah.
You guys get very much activity within the schools, because I've seen so many videos of people going and investigating high schools, elementary schools, middle schools, and they are always it's almost like the schools that are investigated, it's more poltergeist activity. Yeah,
I'm a big autism advocate, so down here in Broward, so I got to know a lot of the principals. So a lot of principals will call me and say, hey, Tim, can you come check out my school? But don't tell the cleaning people why you're here or they won't come back. So I was just telling them, I go, well, we'll tell them we're going to be like, testing new security equipment. They're like, okay. But we've had people seeing apparitions poke their head in their office. I had a lady said an old lady sticks her head in her office every night. One night at one school, they caught a life-size apparition on the camera where the bus loop is. And it was making purposeful walking. And when I did a little checking around, I found out that some guy offed himself in that area like 5 years prior. And schools are just known to be active. They have theaters. A lot of schools down here, theaters are active. And I guess people...
I've never thought about that. That's a good question. Why? Schools, you think about, well, I think about fun. That's where you grew up. You made friends and learned and stuff. Why are they so fun at school?
That might be it. Because, the old lady I found out, I think, an old lady was volunteering at the school, and she'd been there for years. And she had a massive MI and died in the library. But she probably enjoyed being there because she volunteered her time for many years. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, it's like, it was one of our fondest memories. I've had it where people think it's students have died at some schools from falls and things like that. So maybe it's the student that, that was his last place there. But schools are always crazy. Schools and theaters are always nuts.
Yeah, theaters, same way.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard is because you have so many different energies there.
Mm-hmm.
Like happiness and, depression and sadness and stress because, or anxiety. So all of that leaves an imprint within the building itself. And it's just like, it's this feeding frenzy.
Yeah. I've done 8 or 9, and I think 8 or 9 I did that were active. I've done like 12 or 13, but 8 or 9 have had some kind of stuff going on there. And it's just a comfortable place for them, I think. They just remember the good times.
Yeah.
Or that poor guy remembered the bad times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we got Gina Locke. Is this Gina from She Haunts?
Yeah, there she is.
Yeah, Tim is a great investigator and paranormal team member. I wanted to say hello to Gina. She is the lady we had on with She Haunts. We got to get you back, ma'am. I know we talked about it briefly, about getting you back for a part 2, but we need to get you back. Thank you for hanging out tonight.
She's sweet.
Yeah, what did she say? Schools are also a really happy place for many children, so maybe they choose to go there. Yeah.
They might have like a rough home life in the schools. They only like their teachers care for them and give them some comfort and support. That might be all they get. Because at home,
yeah, I remember, like most of us, I'm sure most people would agree, while you're in school, especially high school, you can't wait to get out. God, I can't wait to get out of high school. And then, God, now as an adult, I'd give anything if I could go back.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, I got to go to work every day. Yeah. I don't get the summers off. No, not unless you're a teacher. Nope.
That's right. Well, one of the questions I asked Gina, I remember asking her when she was on. I'm going to ask you as well, Tim. St. Augustine. I've heard so many stories about St. Augustine being like very, very haunted. And Gina was able to share a little bit about that city. Are you familiar at all with anything out there?
I've gone up there. I've done a lot of towns where people go, "Oh, you go to Savannah on a tour." No, I've gone to do houses. I've done more houses in residentials and businesses and cities where I didn't do the tour. I just went up there to investigate. But I've caught a lot of houses up there active because the whole town is it's like I tell people when they ask about Florida, I go, everywhere you walk, there's a dead Indian under you somewhere. There's a dead Native American under you somewhere. And St. Augustine's the same way. They got so much history up there. And a lot of people have this theory that Florida is very active because it's surrounded by water. And the rock we have here is granite and coral. And that brings a lot of energy. So you put all that together, plus the historic things that, that happen, pirates, killings, wars, everything like that. But yes, when I went to St. Augustine for houses, it was always it was worth the trip just to go investigate the house because I knew something would happen.
Okay. Tim, what is, and all the years you've been doing this, what, 20 something? How long?
Like 20, 25. Close.
25 years.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most haunted place you have ever stepped foot into? And what can you tell us about that place?
But, people always ask me, they see the shows and they think everything's demonic. I've been doing this all these years and I've been in one bad place. Like we were doing a house in Lake Wales. Lake Wales is a town, like if you're going to Disney World, you make a left and you go east. It's in the middle of nowhere. But it was built by monks. The town was built by monks. So we got called to do this house. This is where cell phones. So we pulled over and called the lady who said, "We'll be there in 10 minutes. They were staying in a hotel. It was her and her husband. It was like a second home. They were an older couple. We pulled up and the husband literally was sitting on the car and yelled, "Hey, they're here." And she threw his luggage out to him. He wouldn't even go back in the house because he claimed he was attacked a few times. So while we were there, the lady threw me keys and said, "Listen, we'll see you guys Sunday." I said, "Oh, so we can see her all weekend." They go, Yeah. So I go, okay. So I was going to rest and I went to lay down and our sensitive came down and she goes, "Tim, we can't sleep until we clean this place. This place is nasty." And I was a little frustrated. I just got him next to the couch and I go, "Yeah, that's BS." And I got shoved and I went, "Oh, Okay, we'll be friends. And then that night, my computer guy, who always did a lot of experiments, we had a camera on him. He was up in the grandkids' room. He called me up because he caught on the bunk beds 2 indentations hitting the bunk bed, like someone jumping up on it.
Oh God.
So I go, well, that's pretty cool. Let me know what else. And like an hour later, he screamed, oh, shit. And he had a real thick South African accent. So to hear him yell, that was so funny. Oh, shit. I go, what's wrong, man? And we got up there and he pulled his shirt down. And he had a left-handed whelp on his left shoulder. So even if we didn't have a camera on him, there's no way that could have happened.
Yeah.
So I just looked at him. I go, you need to take a break, right, man? He goes, yeah, I got it. So, and we didn't know it. We stayed there till Saturday night because the couple came back and they said they just sold the house. They didn't care what we found. They were spending Saturday at the realtor's office.
Wow.
They signed the contracts to sell it. They weren't going to come back to the place because it was their second house. And then I talked to some locals. I went out for breakfast Saturday, and some locals said that, I don't know how true this is, but Lake Worth was built by monks, and a lot of times they couldn't get through the rock to bury them. So sometimes they would just have a service and chuck them in the water. So,
Oh,
but
no.
other than that, I've been tugged on. My shirt's been tugged on. I've had my name called. I've seen numerous of shadow people, but that's the only really bad place I've ever been in. Most time, I got my shirt tugged on. My sensitive came in. We were doing a house in like a townhouse. The houses parked next to each other. She said, a little girl wants to see you, but you won't slow down. Because back in those days, we used videotape camcorder. So I always was walking around checking the tapes, making sure they're not out, have to replace them. So I went in the room and sat in the chair, and all of a sudden I got my shirt tugged on, and I looked down. I go, hi there. And I was playing the EVP, and a little girl said, hi, help me. And it turns out a girl was hit on her bike like a couple of years before that, and they brought her into that yard to work on her. Rescue did. So, just the shadow. For me, shadow people are just they're always looking around, like checking on you. I've seen a lot of them just stuck in their heads around a corner. They'll in a cemetery, they'll duck their heads over to the headstones and stuff like that. Because I used to do a cemetery where the center mausoleum, I would stand up on the wall, the front wall. Everybody's doing EVP sessions and all that. And I always knew when I looked down, I'd see this guy sticking his head around, the shadow guy. And it was like a dance we had because I would go look for him. And of course, he'd be gone. So after like a couple of times of doing this, I go, okay, let's do the dance, man. So I'd walk around my little FLIR camera. Okay, he's gone again. So it was like a dance we had. So I've never, other than that one place, I've never really been in any bad places. It's just, sometimes I've done places so many times, we get a little connection going. Like, we got a guy down, we do a place, Gold Coast Railroad. I found that place haunted. It was a railroad museum. And we get a guy who says the F word all the time. He's like, on the EVPs, Frank, how you doing? Like, F you. Frank, be nice, man. And we get the place that Gina and I and the team do, we get an old man there, and he just doesn't like women. He just, the ladies are here tonight, and he'll call them, WHO, horse. He'll go, horse. I go, come on, man. They're nice ladies. Be nice. It's like, so, but I always walk in. I had one guy on my team once. I sent him up in a client's house. It scared the hell out of the lady because he went up there and started yelling for like challenging this, whatever was there. And I never called him back again for another investigation because we don't provoke. And I think, with the Afterlife team and other teams I've had, people have learned that you don't have to provoke. You just be nice, especially if you're going back to the place over and over. the dead might be like the living. They don't want to deal with a jerk. If the long haired guy was nice to him, they'll say, hey, that guy's back. Or if some guy walked in and screamed at him last week, they go, oh, screw this guy. This guy's an idiot. We're not going to talk to him because he screamed at us last time. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you're nice to him and pay him with respect, it's a better chance to get a connection. And if you have to go, even if you have to do a residential again, because we do a lot of follow-ups. We don't say, hey, we didn't find nothing. Good luck to you. I always say, listen, maybe we're not here at the right time. How about if you make a log for me and call me in a week? Maybe I'm coming at the wrong time. And then we go back and do it again, the residential or the business. But if you're nice to them, then you got a chance for a better connection next time you go. Because all we're really looking for in the end is just some answers.
Yeah.
Let's backtrack for a minute, because I had a question about, because it's just conflicting information. Shadow people.
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, do you think shadow people were once living, or they are not something that was, that was a living person?
Yeah. I mean, like the guy I play with, he's kind of like an intelligent because he plays the game. So I don't know if they were living or dead. I just, when people hear about shadow people, they say, well, how do you know they're there? I go, well, they're darker than dark. I mean, you can look in a dark room and they'll stand out because they're so dark. But for me, I've never had a bad experience. So I don't know. I've never really wondered if they were living or dead. I just trying to see if we can connect, like me and that guy.
Right.
That's just the game we play.
And it's funny because they always do that cat and mouse thing. It's like, hey, I'm here. So you go there, and then now they're somewhere else. Or they'll want you to go into this room. So you go into this room and then they leave. Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've had places where we put REM pods down, like in a big room. And these will be going off. And you go over there, and then these will go off. And it's just, it's a dance. And I've done that place a lot. So when we do overnights there, we'd always have the game. Okay, let's play the game. We're going to put the REM pods there. Let us know where you're at. Beep, beep, beep. Okay, beep, beep. So it's just, I think if you have a little fun with it and pay respect, they always come around and they always want to goof with you. And, don't get so thin-skinned about it. Just say, hey, let's have fun. Let's have some fun tonight, man. So let me know what's going on. And then I've had it where I've put, those cat balls that everybody likes. I put a cat ball on a piano one night, and I always show up to events hours early, 3 or 4 hours early. So I put the stuff down, and I always walk in with the attitude like, hey, man, how you doing today? We're here to just hang out with you, see what's going on. Yeah. And I put the cat ball down, and I came back. Hey, what's going on? And the cat ball shot across the room. I went, oh, okay, so I suppose I got to pick that up and put it back, right? So it's just good. I'm assuming if they're still here, they're probably still under some stress. Yeah. So if you go in there and challenge them, you're just putting more in then they're going to react to that.
Well, and two, when you're searching a residential and you go in there and you piss these entities, ghost spirits off, and then you leave. Well, then some are stuck.
That's what I tell people. I go, if you walk in and whatever you're representing the people who called you that night. So if you're a jerk, now your face is glued to them because they called you in. But if you're nice, they might say, they're just, maybe looking for answers. And when we come back, there's a chance, because I've done follow-ups where we came back and then we actually got a lady, what was it? Oh, I saw a bunch of New York Yankees stuff, and her dad was a big Yankees fan. So jokingly, I said, hey, how's the Mets this year? Do you like the Mets? And it was like, no, on the EVP. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just, if you're there just to have a good time and just find some answers and be respectful to them, you get a lot more done. And it's always best for the client. Because, sometimes we found it where we find stuff that they're actually comfortable with. Oh, the thing is dad? Yeah. Okay. Well, he's not really bothered us. We just wanted to be sure.
What about full body apparitions? Is that different from like a shadow person or?
Yeah, they could. I mean, full bodies. I mean, full bodies can be. I've never seen a 3D one, like a person standing there, but it could be like a mist or something not as transparent, more opaque. But shadow people, I mean, you can, if you see one, when you see one, you'll know it because it's darker than dark. That silhouette will be sticking out. It'll be coming out like out of the dark because it's just that much difference in it. And I have a habit that I haven't been able to break in 20 years. See, I have a good time with this. I'm like, I should always, when I see a shadow person, take the picture, then goof with them. But I always see when I go, man, get out of here. And then it's like, I did a prison one night, and in this it was a real prison. There were shooting towers and everything. It was abandoned. And they didn't have the big showers. They had like 4 separate showers. And it was a full moon, a new moon that night. So the steel mesh, there was a light coming through it. And I was doing EVPs. I caught some EVPs. I went back, and the light was gone because there was a shadow person sitting there. So instead of me pulling out a camera, shooting a picture, I went, get out of here, man. And then the light came back on. Damn. I've done that a bunch of times where I should have just okay, now I'll tell you to leave. So, but they're it's when you make that connection, then it's kind of fun because it's kind of like a little friend when you go, because I go back, I call the F man Frank. Frank, how you doing today, buddy? What's going on? Or I go, the old man at the house, hey, how you feeling today? You still a little cranky? What's going on? Or the kids, there's a kid in one of the train cars that I've gotten for years, so I'll say hi to him and things like that. But if you respect them, you got to get more. And that's the whole idea, to get answers for your clients. Or, if you have guests, they want to experience something.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's the kind of attitude. I think mentally I have that attitude, but I think if I was to do what it is that you do and what Gina does and what your whole team does, I would be just an awful attractor because I would have so much anxious energy about me because, but at the same time, I want to look at it like you look at it. Like it's fun. It's enjoyable. You get to talk to, spirits but I know once I go there, it's not going to be that way.
It's, I mean, right now I'm doing an experiment. We're going to start really hammering on it about asking questions that Joe Blow would want to ask, like what's it like, things like that. Because I think if we can start finding answers on EVPs, like were you met by someone? Were you met by? Because I get a lot of like, do you see animal spirits, dogs and stuff like that? So were you met by your parents? Were you met by your dog? Are you able to come back and forth? Are you here because you're watching over someone? If we start asking questions and we get certain answers like that, then we can actually physically put out some stuff that this stuff isn't really scary like the TV. It's just you're there just to see if they want to make a contact, and if they have if they have something for someone, like you're trying to be the in between for like mom over here. I did a house once where we actually caught a head apparition on film, and when I went back, I asked for a picture of Dad, the grandpa. The 7-year-old was seeing a shadow in her closet. It was scaring the fool out of her. They were ready to sell the house. But once I took the picture back, this is back when it was on film, so it took like a week to get stuff going. I said, can I see a picture of your dad? And the head shape and the hairline match Grandpa. And Dad and Grandpa had fallen out. When the baby was born, Grandpa came back into life. He moved in, but then he dropped dead in the house of a heart attack. So once we figured out it's probably Grandpa, I told the little girl, I go, do me a favor, go to your closet and just, I'll be right here with you. I just want you to say, Grandpa, I know you're here. Please stay out of my closet. You scare me. And that was 12 years ago. And the girl's going to college now. They still live in the house. They still see the shadow lurking around the stairs when they're eating. But if you can find out answers like that, then you've done some good, you know. Or if you found an electrical leak, you've saved some guy's house from a fire trap. So there's always ways to look at it, that you're here just to do some good. If you walk in with the attitude, I'm here to, you know, get a click on my social, you know, that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, perception is always key.
Yeah, and if you walk in, and I always tell people when I teach this stuff, I say, if you got to be at least knowledgeable of your tools. You don't have to be an expert, but you at least know how to turn on a millimeter or something like that. Because the client's watching you. And if they don't think you handled your equipment right, you especially if you get no evidence, you don't get any evidence, they're going to say, well, they don't look like they didn't know what the hell they were doing. So how can I be sure?
Yeah.
But if you handle a nice professional investigation and you handle your tools proficiently and all that, at least when you walk up to the client with the evidence, you've kind of broken that barrier where they're going to trust what you got, even if you didn't get nothing. And then again, I always say you have to follow up, because if you say, we ain't got none, yeah, we'll see you later. You know, you're on your own.
Yeah. Tim, I've asked this question of every ghost hunter that I've ever had on, and I don't see any reason why I should stop now. So I'm going to ask you. The only reason I don't do what you guys do is that fear of something latching on and me bringing it home with me and it jumping onto my kids or someone in the house or just staying on me. I'm scared to death of a possession of something latching on that I don't want and bringing it home with me. Can you speak to that at all? Has that ever happened to you or anyone that you know?
Well, I don't do the saging and all that. I just say simply, you can't come home with me, you're not going to be welcome. Besides, we have a happy home, you'll be miserable. You know, but when I teach it to investigators, I always say, take care of yourself and your home, because if you have a happy home, they won't come home, or even if they do, they'll say, I don't want to be here. There's no negative here. Because I had a partner years ago who we investigated for a long time, and all of a sudden he called me and says, can you come do my house? I go, what's wrong? He goes, I brought something home and it's been here. But at that time, they were having a lot of financial troubles and they were arguing all the time. I said, well, Bill, you're always raising hell. I mean, if I was a negative thing, I'd want to stay in the house too, because you can feed off of it. And once they got past their financial things, everything seemed to calm down. Yeah, so as long as I just say, listen, you can't come home with me, you're not going to be welcome. I'll come see you next week and things like that. But you got to take care of yourself. You know, don't go, you know, God, don't drink and do drugs and all that stuff. And go in there with a good attitude, a good mindset, a positive mindset, and then try to keep your house happy, because that's where, if they're going to end up, that's where they're going to end up. And even if they do show up, they're going to be like, this ain't for me, man. I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere where I can feed off some stuff. But yeah.
Well, have you ever heard of any stories to where someone didn't do that and actually brought something home with them?
Yeah, I mean, Bill, he for 3 months, his house was like crazy. It was like doors shutting, closing. And this whole time, him and his wife were just fighting all the time. It was just like, and we were still going down investigating. And he said, Tim, I brought something home and it's staying this time. It's like, well, that's why. Actually, I've had, I think Gina has a story where something went home with her when, from one night at the New River, but it didn't stay long. Not that I remember. But yeah, I've had it. I've had a couple stories where people say, I mean, I've had people say, "Can you check my car? I think something's in my car with me." But I've gotten stories where people say that, something's home with me, and I'll find out. I'll do a little, when I do the preliminary. I found a family called me out because their son claimed that something came home with him, and he wasn't a ghost hunter, just something came home. And it turns out he was on psych meds, which that's cool with me. Everybody needs help every now and then, but he was on these meds and he wasn't sleeping. So sometimes if you take psych meds and don't sleep, it has a boomerang effect. It'll mess up your head more. So once we got him convinced to go take a nap, I called the family 2 days later, and everything was okay. It just depends on one's mindset too.
Right. Well, and it's funny that, I don't know if that's funny or not, because I have anxiety. I take medication for anxiety because I think the world's ending if I don't. Yeah. But I also have insomnia. I'll go to sleep at 3 a.m. and get up before 8. Oh. And so, and then I go throughout my day and I just repeat that. But here, and it hasn't been recently, knock on wood, but I had heard, you could pick up hitchhikers that follow you home, even if you go to antique stores, because there's things that attach themselves to those items. And so I haven't been back to an antique store since this happened. And I don't even think I've shared this with Wayne or my husband, but I was coming in the driveway and it was like, and I have a new car now. Well, it's a year old, but it was like something kicked the back of my seat. I was alone in my car, but it was enough force on the back of my seat to like make me jolt. Yeah. So, and now I'm like, I don't know if I'm not really feel like I love antique stores anymore.
I'm working on, I created something called a HOB, a haunted object box, where it's made of only acrylic glass, wood, and then it's sealed with Faraday cloth. Because I've gotten so many calls for haunted objects over the years. But I see all this stuff like on TV, someone will have a doll in a chair with a K-meter next to it. And the K-meter is going ballistic. But you don't know if there's an electrical source setting that off. So the reason I made this box was I wanted to seal that in with, I'll put REM pods in it, millimeters. And then no EMF frequencies can get in this box. So if something really goes off, then it's coming from within the box. So I just started working on the papers on that, and I did a lot of research on I've known a lot about haunted objects, but that's a big thing now that people think they're bringing home stuff that has something attached to them.
Yeah, well, and I was just thinking about all the times because I love antique shopping. Mm-hmm. It's they're really cool items. And then I got into this business and I'm like, well, maybe it's not that cool after all. It's not cool enough for me to take it home and have it live with me.
Because I've investigated a lady's antique store a bunch of times. And she said, Tim, ever since these shows, business has kind of picked up, because people want to get that haunted object. But she said she's had some customers for years who won't come back because they're afraid of that now.
Yes.
So,
I love old stuff too, antique stuff, but I've never even considered that. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Going into, this place where items are 100 plus years old. I mean, there might be some negative energy attached to some of that stuff.
Yeah, because they're saying like a wedding dress might be attached. It might be it might be. There's actually a known wedding dress. I forgot the name of it, but it's because this girl fell in love with this guy and dad didn't like him, so he couldn't come back. But her wedding dress is because of a bad experience. But there's been others that had wedding dresses that could be attached because it was their greatest day ever. And then there's like chairs. Chairs have been known to be attached. where you'll sit there and you'll feel cold or anxious and things like that. So, but that's the reason, because if I can get this thing confirmed that it really picks up some stuff, then I can take it to someone's house and they'll say, oh, I think this doll's haunted. Well, if we put the doll in there and nothing really happens, and I've had it, I'm not going to do it like the first time and say, oh, let's see, this is my box. And, I'm not that egotistical. I'll say, look, I've worked this thing before. We've gotten responses. Let's try it now. If we don't, we'll come back, bring it back and try it again. But if we can get it going, at least it might ease some stress of someone thinking that this book they bought is haunted. So if we can put the book in there, run some tests on it, and see what happens, then we might be able to say, listen, I don't think it's a book. We didn't really get any reactions or something like that.
Have you ever had any run-ins with Dybbuk boxes?
No.
Because those are a whole box in O.
Yeah.
So I was just curious.
No, I mean, but everybody talks about the Ouija board. I don't want to play with the Ouija board. I go, well, every time you break out a Melmeter or a REM pod, it's a Ouija board because you're trying to make a contact. But we actually have a couple Ouija boards on our team that we goof with, and we try to run experiments on. But that's always someone's fear. I don't know, Ouija board. Well, open your case. There'll be investigators who don't like the Ouija board, but I'll say open your case, and they'll open. I go, look, man, you got a REM pod, you got a Melmeter, you got an Ovilus. It's just a Ouija board with batteries, man.
Yeah, I think we talked to Gina about that. If I'm not mistaken, we had talked about that. How everything is, if you do the human pendulum, in essence, you're the Ouija board.
Yeah, you're just
you're using your energy to contact these spirits, or the Estes method.
Yeah,
you are the conductor.
Yes, I mean I've seen people who, like a portal box, they might put their hand on it and put their arm up like it's an antenna. I go, now you are part of it. They're like, oh yeah, you're right. I go, don't, if you're comfortable doing it, don't stop. I'm just saying, just know what you're, what you're working with. Just be aware that it's just dressed up different, and it all has batteries and lights.
That was literally going to be my next question, Tim. Ask about Ouija boards, if you had any experience with them.
I mean, I've used them before, and I've never had a bad experience with them. But I mean, for me, everything we use now is a Ouija board. It's just, you just have to plug it in and charge it up before.
Yeah, but the Ouija board has that kind of that stigma that, you hear Ouija board and you get scared, or most people do.
I know. That's why sometimes, like a new investigator, I might not even say anything about it, because those tools, the electric tools now, they don't have the stigma of the Ouija board. But if you believe the Ouija board theory, then you got to believe anything you use. But sometimes I don't even bring it up because they'll be, oh my God, you're right. Yeah. So they don't have the stigma yet about it because it's all lights and noises now.
All right. Well, we've only got a few questions highlighted. So, guys, y'all have a few more minutes if you can think of any questions for Tim to get those in. But we're going to go ahead and jump to them. First one is from our boy Troy. Why are there almost always ghosts near stairs?
That's a good. Yeah, I've seen a lot of apparitions on stairs. There's been a lot of pictures of ghosts on stairs. It's
good
just,
question.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, usually when it's, some of them they're coming down, like they might be like in life. That's how they made their appearance, especially in like old, because I've done a lot of places in like houses like Louisiana, all over the South, where the grand stairs. It might just be they're reliving them making their appearance to the crowd, to the whoever's there. And then I've seen a lot of pictures, had some actual, I've caught some stuff where someone sitting on the stairs. Especially there's a place in Tampa called it's the first. It was a Cuban cigar factory, and there's been pictures of a little girl sitting on the stairs, like she's reading or something. So it might just be a place where they relax. But I think most times stairs are usually that's how they appeared. That's how they made their grand entrance when they were coming down something.
And some of it too could be residual.
Oh yeah.
Just the normal activity that they used to do. What about hallways? I freaking hate hallways, man. They are always coming down hallways.
Next, we've had it one time. We were doing a place, and I've never had this before. It was a hall. The building's like 100 years old. I was standing by a door, and we had a light at the end of the hall. And I looked at my shadow, and I see a little shadow next to me. And I've never had it before because I didn't see the shadow when I looked down. But I looked at the door, see the shadow standing next to a little kid. I'm like, oh, you want to go out? So I just opened the door. Now hallways are usually like if you go to an older place, hallways kind of have that. They're always in the old houses are always smaller from what you're used to, so it has kind of like a fun house effect. Because we did a place Deering Estate years ago. We used to do it, and I would tell everybody, the guests, I say, walk down this hallway, and it'll play games on your head. Because it's just shrunken. It's the illusion that you're walking, and all of a sudden it just shrinks because the hallways is smaller. But hallways are always creepy because they're usually, especially in hotels, they're always very quiet and very long.
And very dark. And there's all those doors that something could just come out and get you.
Yeah. Always are cool.
All right. Alex S. asks, do you think shadow people are a type of ghost or a ghost that doesn't have the energy or power to fully manifest?
The shadow people I've seen, when I tell them to leave, they skedoodle. So they got some energy. I don't know if they've the energy to move around and skedoodle, but they just don't fully. Maybe they also, I think, I tell people sometimes, when they usually come to you in a dream. If you blow them off, then they might come to you like touch you or something. And I tell people sometimes they just push the envelope of what they can do to get to be known. So maybe they can't manifest fully, but they're always around because they want you to know they're there. So the ones I've seen, hey, boom, they're gone. They got the energy to move real quick. But maybe they don't have that full to manifest, or maybe they just don't want to go that far with it.
Yeah. All right, next question. Ristel is asking Tim, any experience with Hat Man?
No, but I've not Hat Man, but I do have a pretty cool picture. I should have sent it to you. I'll send it to you. It's a full-blown shadow man in a fully lit car in a railroad station.
Wow.
At the Railroad Museum. And it was taken by a guest on her camera phone. So it was really cool. And then I still see the same shoulder shape and all that. He paces by the bathrooms at this museum.
Wow.
So I've never seen the shadow with a hat. I've always seen him like, the head, the shoulders, sometimes the full body like this one guy. But I've never seen the hat guy.
All right, very cool. Tim, tell everybody about your book or books and where to get them and all of that good stuff.
It's Ghost Hunting Getting Started 2. What I did is a sequel. What I did with the books is I talk about how to build a team, how to get started, how to find investigations, how to conduct them, review evidence. And then I go through all the tools. I dummy it down so much, I can tell you where to put the batteries, what kind of batteries they take, how to turn it on, what all the lights and alerts mean. The only difference with the new book is I put 3 locations down here in South Florida, the history of the location, the haunted history, and the activity I've gotten over the years. And I only put 3 in because these 3 places, they'll actually, if you go there and pay their little walking tour fee or whatever, and if you break out a recorder, they don't care. They're not going to tell you to put it away. So I've had hundreds of people over the years tell me, hey, I went back to Gold Coast and I caught some stuff on my recorder. They can self-investigate. So the book is basically made just so if you want to get started in ghost hunting, it just tells you how to get started. Some tips I've had over the years, like something as simple as if you're the case manager calling for calling to check on an investigation, check on the parking. Maybe there's not enough parking for all your team. Just simple little tips just to get you going, and then just tips on how to use the equipment and how to review evidence.
Okay, where do they get that book?
BarnesNoble.com. The other book, Getting Started 1, is on Amazon, but that one's just the tools, basically. I didn't include the locations.
Yeah, you sent me the link, so I will put that in the show notes when this is released to podcast. We had a couple of questions come in late, so since there were just a few, I want to get to those before we get out of here. Troy asks, what single piece of equipment would you take into a cemetery?
Well, I love our REM pods, millimeters, because you can put them around and get trigger. It'd be like a trigger toy. We do a cemetery down here. We call it the Disco Cemetery. It's a Spanish. It's like a Latin American cemetery where it's open 24 hours a day, and people celebrate all the time. We've seen people out there at 2 or 3 in the morning having barbecues. But there's solar lights everywhere. It's really a cool place. If you drive by on the road, you'll see all these little flowers and everything. And there's a kids section. So I'll take Boo Buddy with us, or we'll take this new thing called a trip light. It's like REM pods, or that big circular thing, the device. The tripwire has actually 13 REM pods on a string that they all work individually. Like these 2 lights might go off, but these won't. So there's something affecting this part of the string. So I love taking that out because we'll lay it around a plot and things like that and see if we get reactions. And of course, it depends on the area. I love to do EVPs. I'm an audio recording nut.
Yeah.
And things like that. It just, this cemetery, we have a few that's very quiet with from traffic. So you always have to take that into account. But I love doing recording. So I record anywhere.
Our last question comes from Bristol. He says, wait. Last question. What is that to the left of the Saturn V?
Oh, that's my son's. Oh, Death Star.
Okay.
My son builds Legos. He has them all over the place.
Very cool. All right, Tim, great stuff, buddy. Awesome. We appreciate you taking the time to come and hang out. Like I said, we will take the audio from this episode and we will release it to podcast. We have a much larger audience over there, so you'll reach more people over there. But yeah, we'll include the link to your book and all that stuff. I want to take this opportunity to thank you very, very much for coming out.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everything.
Yes, and thank you for answering some of my questions as well, because I'm so intrigued and so interested, but I'm a chicken.
Come on down. Come on down sometime. We'll take you out.
I would love to, man. If that offer stands, one of these days I would love to get down there.
Because there's places where I literally have the keys to the places.
Oh, that would be great.
Historical locations where I just give them a call and say, hey, we're going to come by and do some experiments. And all right.
Well, when the show takes off and Tiffany and I become millionaires, we will head down there. And
come on down, man. We'll set you up. We could do cemeteries, train museum, the first inn on the Fort Lauderdale River. We'll do that place.
We will do it all, man.
An old school. So,
All right, buddy. Hope you
Thank you.
stay in touch. Let us know if anything cool happens, and we'll get you back on. Okay.
all right, buddy. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
I'm telling you, I'm all about it. I'm all about it.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, he did not disappoint.
Mm-mm.
No, really,
Yep.
really, really good stuff. Gina spoke very, very highly of him when she came on, and yeah, did not disappoint at all. Cool to see Gina hanging out in here tonight.
Uh-huh.
We need to get her back on. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
I agree.
All right. You got
Mhm.
anything before we get out of here, ma'am? I got a sick daughter waiting on me in the next room.
Nope, just real quick, come back and see us Saturday. As always, on the 6th, we are having our very own Chad Garcia back for his part 2 at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central. So,
Chad Garcia, some more New Orleans hauntings or whatever he wants to talk about.
yes, and I talked to him the other day just to see if that date was still good for him. He said he would be in a hotel room, but he is absolutely going to join us. So,
Very cool.
yeah.
Very cool. All right, guys. We are going to get out of here. As always, thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for all of the support. You guys are awesome. We love you. And until we see y'all again, y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Bye.